Hello friends, myself Mamta Karkar. Today I will take the subject juvenile delinquency, and earlier we have completed our unit 1 in juvenile delinquency, in which we have taken the condition of juveniles in India, the meaning and definition of juveniles, and what are various institutions that work for the juveniles in India. Now we also seen the different terms that what is mean by the neglected juveniles, and what is mean by juvenile delinquent behavior. Then we also see that how the terms have been changed in law, that juvenile neglected juvenile means the juvenile in need of law, and juvenile delinquent or delinquent juvenile means the child in conflict with the law. So this is the approach, social approach, that has been changed during the period with the treatment of the juveniles, and now they are being more treated with the social aspect and for their reformation. So this is what the change that has been come into the scenario, and now we will turn to the second unit. The second unit is regarding determining factors of juvenile delinquency. So what is mean by juvenile delinquency, that we know. Now the question arises how the juvenile, that means the children of tender age, those children who have not completed the age of 18 years, how they turns to the delinquent behavior or misbehavior or such behavior which is not accepted by the society, and that's why they are called as delinquent juveniles. So what are the various factors they are responsible for such delinquent behavior? So generally the factors are society related, family related, economically related, and peer group, the effect of peer group, that is most important. We all know that any child that comes under the impression of those who are always with them. So now in our syllabus we have taken only limited factors, but still we will discuss some factors which are responsible for the delinquent behavior of the juvenile. We already know what is differential association, anomie, then economic pressure, peer group influence, gang subculture, and class differentiation. So in looking to the deep study of these factors, we can also know that how juvenile is turned to the delinquent behavior because of certain real facts, and that life of juvenile turns in a different way what we are expected. Now delinquent behavior that has been already termed as such behavior which is not accepted by the society. That means there may be lack of discipline, there may be lack of certain maturity, and the work or behavior of the juvenile may be antisocial, and how they turns to the little bit criminal activities. So that what we can say can be discussed. So juvenile delinquency has become a global phenomena, and they have been observed everywhere in the world. It's not that only a particular society or particular caste is being observing the juveniles. So the industrial development and economic growth in the country also brings with it that the parents, both the parents are working, and at that time the child may be neglected by the parents, parental care, love and affection, or it may be insufficient money and insufficient family that observance, and it tends to the child to indulge in such criminal activities. Now, first of all, we will see how they become juvenile delinquent, and how it is the family problem that affects on the life of any child. So that disintegration of the family system and lack of the parents' control. If both the parents are working, then the child may be kept on the right of any person who has been hired, or in observance home, or such other we know about them, home care or daycare. And such persons may not be literate, and they may be just working for payment, and they may not take care of such child. So in such, the child may be lacking parental care, and he may turn to the behavior which is not accepted by the society at all. The another thing that unprecedented increases in the divorce cases and matrimonial disputes. Now again, it may relate to the economic condition of the couple's family, or there are sometimes other reasons where the parents may not be at a stage that they can run a family in a good behavior, or they may not interested to take care of the child. Many times a single mother or single father, they cannot hold the situation, and the children becomes delinquent, and this is also another factor which is responsible at family level for the delinquent behavior of the children. Poverty is the most important thing that juveniles are facing in our India. Many illiterate and with low income or below poverty line families, they have more children, and they cannot pay attention to their children for their education, for their growing up, and even they could not provide them sufficient food. And you can see that the children are educated to ask for begging, and or sometimes they are working on the household tapri or household small businesses. And if they are poor, parents are poor, then they are taking the child with them for labor work also, and they expect that the child should also earn some money for family. So this is what element position in India, where poverty plays very vital role for the delinquency of the juvenile. Then peer group factor. If the child is going to a high standard school, then sometimes the parents are becoming careless, that we are paying so much money behind his education, we have also given him best tuition in the city, now what else we can do, so he has to study only. So what happens, that every time paying high for tuitions or paying high fees for the schools, best school, is not enough. And sometimes there are such criminals who are wandering outside of such schools, and they try to effect on such children to drugs or such other things, where they can spend money easily, because such children who are coming from well-to-do families, they can have pocket money, and they can spend money on any things. So there are more chances to become the child delinquent. But exactly opposite to that, where the slum areas or the areas where family could not spend much money on the education, standard living, in that case the child become vulnerable because of such criminal activities and antisocial persons who are wandering here and there in the society. or slum area, and they can become easily target of such thing. So this is two ways, or you can say two sides of a coin, that peer group effect. Many a times, if the friends are not coming from good family background, good social background, then they can harm to the child in his emotional way, and such a child becomes delinquent, and he may misbehave. And if the parents are not noticing his behavior, changes in his behavior, in changes in his education, if they are not going to pay much time on looking after such child, then such child becomes juvenile delinquent. So this is what the factor responsible for juvenile delinquency in India. Then gang subculture. If you see that, we also see in the movies and other thing serials, like if the children, they are coming into the contact of such friends who are already trying to become the heroic character, and they try to make impression on other groups, so they try to also make a gang of their own, and for that they can also become ready to spend money for parties, and for buying some eating and providing them to the members of the group, and that make impression on the child who may not having such qualities of leadership, but they can become the member of such gangs, and ultimately they turn to be the part of gang subculture, and in the name of adventure, such children may try to bunk the classes, then they try to harass the girl child of that class, to harass the teachers, and ultimately they also, if they are not going to study because of all such activities, then they try to focus on getting IMPs, then getting question papers out of the office custodies, and then trying to make ragging of other students or other classmates of the class, or junior classes. So all these, that is not going to happen in a night. It is step by step coming into the life of any child who has already become delinquent. So this behavior that can be controlled by the teachers, that can be controlled by the family members, by observance, by survey, and looking after to such child who is becoming vulnerable, who is becoming victim himself, or who is becoming a part of such sub-gang culture. So this what we have to pay attention, that is most important part to stop the juvenile delinquent behavior. Then another thing, biological factors, sometimes early psychological maturity or low intelligence, that also tends the person to feel very insulting, or feeling very depressed, and they try to burst out in another way. And in such conditions, they tends towards the delinquent behavior. And sometimes the puberty, or age of puberty, or age of that adolescence also make the children shy, or misbehaved. And that time, if parents are not paying much attention to the behavior of such child, it may be girl or it may be a boy, then he may become very violative, or such misbehaving. And this is what the factor depends on biological condition of the child. So here, if you try to understand that not only social, not only biological, not only family background, but there are many such factors which are responsible for the delinquent behavior of the child. So overall, the society, the parents, they are the most important part to stop, to prevent such misbehavior at early childhood condition. Once the child becomes mature, or you can say that if he comes to the age of 14 years, and then there are the symptoms of adolescence, puberty, they are coming into the child, then that time it becomes very hard to tend him into good behavior. So this is what we have to take care, that they should not go into such impression of misbehaving. Another thing, sometimes migration of the parents from one place to another. If the parents are working and if they are having transferable job, or if they are changing the places many times, there two things happens, that if the child is also transferred from one place to another place with the parents, then it becomes a major factor to change the tendency of the child. His friends are lost, and he every time he has to make the adjustment with the new friends. Then sometimes he may have to be lowered by the other friends or other groups, and for the need of his childhood he has to make certain adjustment. So this also bows the seeds of delinquent behavior in the mind of child. The another thing, if the parents are such having a transferable job, and if they are putting their child in the hostels or such brothels, then they are becoming delinquent because of certain things, that hostel culture, and they are missing the family welfare, family attention, love, affection from his parents, and in that case also again there are chances to be delinquent by the juvenile. So these are the certain factors which are responsible for the delinquent behavior of a child, whether he is from India or whether he is from another thing. Economic pressure on the parents, that also makes them to be more harsh with the children, and that also gives contribution for the delinquent behavior of the child. Then class differentiation. Now in 21st century, this factor may not much effect, but earlier when there was much impression of the caste system on the society, and in our medieval periods also, when there was class differentiation because of the economic condition, because of the races, because of the caste, because of the sex, and because of the place of birth, like this. So there was not equal condition between the child, between the children of one class or one group, and that's why sometimes the children face difficulty to cope up with the norms of the society, and they find it insulting, that if my friend is allowed to do this thing, then why not me? If my friend is going for educational trips, for school trips, and only I don't have money, my parents don't have money, so I could not be permitted. So this class differentiation based on economy, based on poverty, based on the caste, based on the social background, that also affect to the minds of children, and this way the children becomes delinquent because of this social inequality, social changes in the condition of children in the society. Again, the class differentiation depends on sex also, that if you find out that male child, or what we can say, that boys, they become more delinquent compared to that of the girl child, and this is only because of they are more adventurous, and they find that they are superior to the girl child. So sometimes girls the female child may become vulnerable or victim of the circumstances, but male child, that always tries to take more adventures, tries to get more such violence and all the things. So this is what the class differentiation deeply affects on the behavior of a juvenile, and they become juvenile delinquent. So these are the factors which are responsible for the delinquent behavior of the juveniles in India, juveniles in all over the world. So how they are turning into the juvenile acts, what type of juvenile acts they are also getting indulged in such behavior, what type of behavior they are trying to do it. So most important factor is that lack of discipline. Discipline is not shown by the educators, by the parents, and by the society members of the society. So sometimes this delinquent behavior also turns into the criminal activities, and it deeply affects on the children. So students, this is what the different factors responsible for the delinquent behavior of the children. So we have taken the part that various factors that are responsible. Now this determining factors of juvenile delinquency is completed. There are many other factors also. So if you can write, you can also discuss and study the various factors responsible for the delinquent behavior. In the next lecture, we will take judicial contribution, then social action litigation concerning the juvenile justice, then silent judicial decisions, role of legal profession in the juvenile justice system. Now you know that for social action litigation there are certain cases which are came in front of the Supreme Court for the juvenile justice. Then after that we have enacted the Juvenile Justice Act. Then the role of legal profession to taking such social action litigation also. So this way we will complete this unit in the next lecture.